Welcome to our channel, all friends. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to stay update for new videos. Thanks. Let's start new video. It was 2 a.m. and strange, restless thoughts swirled in my mind. I knew that in the next room, my 18-year-old beautiful sister-in-law, Sally, was alone, someone who could fulfill my every desire. This very thought kept me from lying still in bed. I tossed and turned, shifting from one side to another, until finally, exhausted, I sat up. My gaze fell on my wife, sleeping soundly beside me, snoring deeply. I knew she wouldn't wake before morning. After a full day of housework, she was always dead tired. I sat quietly beside her for a while, watching her, making sure her sleep was deep. Once convinced, I slowly slipped out of bed, tiptoed out of the room, and gently shut the door behind me. I glanced around. The house was empty. My younger brother was out, and my ailing mother lay bedridden in her room. Stealthily, I moved toward my brother's room, where I had deliberately arranged for my sister-in-law to stay. Her youth, her beauty, it all drove me wild. Tonight, I thought, I would make my life more exciting. I was tired of my wife. I wanted to spend time with her instead. As I placed my hand on the door, it creaked open. My eyes landed on my sister-in-law sitting on the bed, but the next sight shattered me. She wasn't alone. She was in the arms of my younger brother. My marriage was about to complete 13 years. Back when I got married, my sister-in-law, Sally, was just 6 years old, an innocent, adorable little girl who adored me. She'd run to me happily, climb into my lap, pinch my cheeks playfully, and chatter away. Naturally, I treated her like a child. Who wouldn't? A 6-year-old was just a kid to everyone. Whenever I visited my in-laws, I'd bring her chocolates. If I took my wife, Shazia, out somewhere, I'd bring her along too. She was like a sweet little doll, and her innocent words always made me smile. Shazia loved her deeply. After all, there was a 13-year age gap between the two sisters. Her real name was Mehnor, but everyone called her Manu affectionately. Shazia adored her so much that she often brought Manu to stay with us. Manu would come happily, filling our home with joy. A year after marriage, Shazia gave birth to a beautiful daughter, and Manu's attachment to our house grew even stronger. Sometimes Shazia would call her over. Other times, her father, Abu, would drop her off on his way somewhere. I never objected. In fact, I never refused her anything. Whatever she asked for, I made sure she got it. Besides me, my younger brother and my mother also lived in the house. Neither my brother nor my mother ever objected to Manu's visits. She was innocent after all, and everyone had started treating her like family. Whenever she came, she'd play joyfully with my daughter, Basma. God had blessed us with only one child, and we doted on her endlessly. 2 years into my marriage, my father-in-law passed away suddenly. His death shattered Shazia and Manu. They had no one else to lean on. My mother-in-law, too, was drowning in grief. During that difficult time, I placed my hand on Manu's head and promised her, I'll always be here for you, like a father. I took over the household expenses of my in-laws, cared for my mother-in-law, and made sure Manu lacked nothing. Every word she spoke, every little need, I fulfilled it instantly. I was determined to keep the promise I'd made after her father's death. I never let her feel the absence of a father's shadow over her head. But slowly time moved on, and Manu grew up. By the time she turned 14, a sudden transformation came over her. She grew taller, her body filled out, and she blossomed into an extraordinarily beautiful young girl. Anyone who saw her couldn't help but stare. Yet despite her outward changes inside, she remained the same innocent, mischievous child. At first, when she began maturing, I'd avoid looking at her too long. But gradually, when she'd sit close to me like before, pinching my cheeks, chatting away, my heart would stir in ways I couldn't explain. The hand that had once rested on her head like a father's now trembled with desire. My gaze was no longer affectionate, it was hungry, but she never noticed. To her, I was still the same paia she adored. Meanwhile, my wife Shazia had changed completely after childbirth. Her body had lost its shape, dark circles clung beneath her eyes, and she was always buried in housework or tending to our daughter. By the time she finished, she'd collapse into sleep. There was no time for her to care for herself. My ailing mother, now bedridden, added to Shazia's burdens, changing diapers, feeding her, managing her medicines. Shazia was the perfect wife, the perfect daughter-in-law, holding the household together. But in doing so, she'd lost herself. The beauty she'd had in the early years of our marriage had faded, and every time my eyes fell on Manu, my heart strayed further. More time passed, and I realized Manu had stopped visiting as often. When she did come, she'd leave quickly. At first, I thought it was her until I noticed the real change: Shazia's behavior. She no longer invited Manu over, and when Manu did visit, Shazia would make excuses to send her away sooner. Neither my brother nor mother ever objected to Manu's visits. She was innocent, after all. Everyone considered her part of our family. When she came, she'd play joyfully with my daughter Basma. God had only blessed us with one child, whom we doted on endlessly. 2 years into my marriage, my father-in-law died suddenly. His death devastated Shazia and Manu. They had no one else. My mother-in-law, too, was drowning in grief. During that difficult time, I placed my hand on Manu's head and promised, "I'll always protect you like a father." I took over their household expenses, cared for my mother-in-law, and fulfilled Manu's every need. I was determined to keep my promise. She would never feel a father's absence. But time passed, and Manu grew up. By 14, she transformed, taller, fuller, blossoming into extraordinary beauty. Anyone who saw her couldn't look away. Yet inside, she remained that same innocent, playful girl. At first, I avoided looking at her too long, but when she'd sit close like before, pinching my cheeks, chatting, my heart stirred strangely. The hand that once rested paternally on her head now trembled with desire. My gaze turned hungry, though she never noticed. To her, I was still her beloved Bhaiya. Meanwhile, Shazia changed completely after childbirth. Her body lost shape, dark circles appeared, constantly buried in chores or caring for our daughter before collapsing, exhausted. My bedridden mother added to her burdens: diaper changes, feedings, medicines. Shazia was the perfect wife, perfect daughter-in-law. But in holding our family together, she'd lost herself. Her bridal beauty had faded, and every time I looked at Manu, my heart strayed further. Eventually, Manu stopped visiting often. When she did, she'd leave quickly. At first, I blamed her until I noticed Shazia's behavior. She stopped inviting Manu, making excuses to send her away sooner. If Manu lingered, Shazia would say, "Take her home. Amma's alone." Even if Manu wanted to stay, Shazia ensured she left. This puzzled me. Twice I hinted, asking why she kept Manu away when she'd visited since childhood. Shazia dismissed it. "Amma's unwell. Manu's grown. She should help at home. How long can my sick mother manage?" I stayed silent, though I knew my mother-in-law was healthy and strong. I couldn't challenge Shazia. Days later, even my brother Hamza noticed. At dinner, he asked, "Bobby, why doesn't Manu visit anymore?" Hamza and Manu were close, similar ages. Shazia hesitated. "Her board exams are near. She must focus." Then she left. Hamza smirked at me. Since Basma grew up, Bobby forgot Manu. Before, her heart belonged to Manu. Now Basma replaced her. He left chuckling, but I pondered deeply. Was that truly why? That evening, I visited my in-laws alone, pretending to check on my mother-in-law but really investigating. She was perfectly healthy. Manu, now 16, brought me tea. I stared despite myself. When she smiled, I asked, "Why don't you visit anymore?" Initially silent, at the door she whispered, "Api, elder sister, doesn't want me coming. When I do, she won't let me stay, sends me back immediately." Her innocent complaint surprised me. "Why, did you do something?" She shook her head. "I only come for Basma. You know how much I love her. But something's changed in Api." I stayed quiet, planning to confront Shazia. But when I returned, my mother's condition worsened. I rushed her to hospital. Returning late, Shazia waited in our room. She smiled as I sat beside her. That night, I told Shazia, "Mother's been very ill lately, and Basma tires you out. Why don't we call Manu over?" She gave me a strange look and replied firmly, "No, I won't call Manu. I'll manage everything myself." Surprised, I asked, "But what's changed? She's practically grown up in this house since childhood. What problem could you possibly have with her now?" Shazia averted her eyes and said, "Childhood was different and Manu's becoming a woman now. There's no need for her to visit so often. People will talk. Besides, apart from us, Hamza lives here too. He's a young man. I don't want any inappropriate situations or gossip. Her words angered me. Are you suspecting my own brother? What will Manu think of her elder sister? You're breaking her heart with this behavior. None of us have any issue with her visits, so why are you so bothered? As for Hamza, he's hardly ever home, and when he is, he stays in his room. He grew up with Manu too. You're making unnecessary drama out of nothing. I continued firmly, tomorrow I'll bring her myself. She'll play with Basma for a while and then go home. It will make her happy and clear any misunderstandings between you two. Shazia looked at me sharply. Did Manu say something to you? After a pause, I admitted, yes, I went to your mother's house today. She's perfectly fine. You've been making excuses about her health. When I asked Manu why she doesn't visit, she said you don't let her stay. Shazia's face flushed with embarrassment. Before she could respond, I finalized my decision. I'm bringing her tomorrow. The next day after work, I went straight to my in-laws. Come home with me, I told Manu, who agreed happily. Instead of going directly home, I took her to the market first, treating her to her favorite pani puri. As we neared our house, I had her wait in the car while I went inside. Shazia, I announced, I've brought Manu. Let's all go to the park. You and Basma can get some fresh air too. I knew she'd refuse. Between household chores and caring for my mother, her hands were full. I can't go, she protested. You made plans without even asking me. Frustrated, I countered. What kind of attitude is this? I've already told Manu we're going. If I cancel now, she'll think you're deliberately avoiding her. When Shazia insisted, just take Manu and Basma then, I happily grabbed my 7-year-old daughter's hand and left. At the park, while timid Basma feared the swings, Manu loved them. After getting Basma settled with ice cream, I bought swing tickets, eager for that exhilarating moment when Manu and I would soar high together, side by side, just as I'd imagined. When the swing reached its peak, Manu screamed in fear, clutching my arm and pressing herself against me. I pulled her closer, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. She was shrieking wildly, her fingers digging into my arm as the swing rocked violently. When the ride finally ended, I helped her down, my arm lingering around her waist as I guided her off the seat. We moved to another ride and I deliberately inched closer to her, letting our shoulders brush, our legs touching. We spent a long time at the park enjoying the rides. Manu, innocent and oblivious, didn't seem to realize why I had really brought her here. But my plan was simple. I wanted time alone with her, away from Shazia's watchful eyes. Lately, I had grown distant from my wife. She was always busy, either tending to my sick mother or exhausted from household chores. Most nights, she didn't even sleep in our room, choosing instead to stay by my mother's side. By the time we returned home late that night, we were exhausted. We had already eaten dinner outside, but Shazia was waiting for us, hungry and irritated. You took so long, she said sharply. I shrugged. We already ate. Manu, still excited, began animatedly describing our time at the park, how high the swings went, how thrilling it was. Shazia's expression darkened. Was it really necessary to put her on such dangerous rides? She muttered under her breath. And you left Basma alone, just to go on swings with Manu? What if something had happened to her? I laughed loudly. Basma isn't a toddler. She knew where we were. She was fine waiting for us. What's the big deal? But Shazia wasn't amused. She was clearly upset. Not that I cared. It was already 11 p.m. I turned to Manu. I'll drop you off tomorrow on my way to work. Stay here tonight. I'm too tired to drive you back now. Manu didn't object, but Shazia immediately protested. Where will she even sleep? Take her back. I shot her an annoyed look. Hamza isn't even home. He's out with friends. I'll message him to stay wherever he is. Manu can sleep in his room. Shazia fell silent, defeated. I quickly texted Hamza, telling him not to come home tonight. Manu, tired from the park, wanted to freshen up. You can use our bathroom, I told her. Take a shower and get some rest. She hesitated. But I didn't bring any spare clothes. I'll just sleep like this. I smirked, letting my gaze travel from her head to her toes. You've grown so much now. Even your sister's clothes will fit you. Turning to Shazia, I said, give her one of your suits. Shazia handed Manu an outfit, then retreated to the kitchen without another word. Manu disappeared into our bathroom to shower. When she emerged later, I was stunned. Shazia's clothes clung to Manu's body in a way they never did to my wife. Every curve accentuated her youthful frame, even more alluring than Shazia's had ever been. Her damp hair fell in loose waves, her lips flushed pink from the heat. I couldn't tear my eyes away. Flustered, she tried to cover herself with a towel, avoiding my stare as she hurried out, but not before I'd memorized the way the water glistened down her back. Soon after, Manu retreated to Hamza's room, and Shazia and I lay down to sleep. Exhausted, Shazia began snoring within minutes, but sleep eluded me. Manu's proximity tormented me. The memory of her wet skin, the way her body moved, it set my blood on fire. By midnight, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out of bed and crept to Hamza's door. It was closed, but when I pressed my hand against it, it swung open silently, and what I saw inside stole the breath from my lungs. He sat on the bed, Manu cradled in his arms, her head resting against his chest. His lips brushed her ear as he whispered, "Just a little longer. I'll talk to Bobby myself. We'll get married. I promise." Manu's voice trembled. "I don't know if things will ever be okay. You don't understand. Jiju, brother-in-law, acts so strange around me now. It's hard to even be near him, but I endure it, because if I push him away, we'll lose our last chance to be together." A cold knot twisted in my gut. "Api already made it clear she'll never let me marry into this family," she continued. "If I ruin things with Jiju too, what hope do we have?" Every word was a knife. She was exposing me to my own brother, painting me as some lust-driven monster. Hamza tightened his hold on her. "Trust me, Manu. Just wait a little longer." Then the final blow. "You don't know what he did today," she whispered. "At the park, he crossed every line." "I thought Api would come with us to the park," Manu whispered, her voice trembling. But she refused. "I had to go alone with Jiju, and then, on the swings," she shuddered. "He kept getting closer, on purpose. It was unbearable. I didn't even ride the last one. We came straight home. I'm scared of him now, but what choice do I have? If I want to see you, I have to endure his advances. Api won't tolerate me here, and you can't come to my house. I'm trapped." Hamza pulled her closer, his voice fierce. "Just once more. Once we're married, I'll take you far from this house. My brother's shadow will never touch you again." His jaw tightened. "I thought he saw you as a daughter, that he was kind because you lost your father. I never imagined this filth in his heart." The words hit me like a physical blow. They knew. Hamza knew. Manu knew. Even Shazia had suspected. That's why she'd kept Manu away. And I'd been blind. The girl I'd vowed to protect like a father had become the object of my hunger. The brother I'd raised now saw me for what I was, a predator. Tears burned my eyes as I stumbled back to my room. That night, I drowned in shame, replaying every touch, every stolen glance. Dawn brought no relief, only a resolve to end this. At breakfast, I sat Shazia down. "It's time," I said firmly. "We should formalize Manu's engagement." Manu and Hamza froze. Shazia's eyes widened. "I want to ask her mother for her hand." "For Hamza." I met my brother's stunned gaze. "Once he finishes his degree, I'll send him abroad. He'll take Manu with him, somewhere safe, far from here." Turning to Manu, I forced a smile. "Any objections?" She shook her head, tears glinting. Hamza exhaled sharply, equal parts relief and disbelief. "I tried to be a father to you, Manu," I murmured. "But I failed. Let me do this one thing right." For the first time in months, her smile reached her eyes. Shazia lowered her head. She said, "I didn't want Manu and Hamza's relationship to come out. I thought people would say I deliberately trapped my sister in my brother-in-law's trap." I smiled at Shazia's words and said, "When we have no objection, what difference does it make what people say? You talk to your mother. I'll arrange a grand engagement for both kids." Hearing this, they both became very happy. Then when I got the chance, I privately apologized to Manu for all my actions. Manu had forgiven me with an open heart. Within a few days, Manu's engagement and marriage happened together because Hamza was going abroad. As soon as he got a job there, I would personally send Manu to him after the wedding. Seeing their happiness filled my heart with joy. I glanced at Shazia's face, whose spirit seemed diminished perhaps because I had neglected her. Now the time had come when I would reduce the burden of responsibilities from Shazia's shoulders and give her time too. And I had started acting on this decision.